All right. Would you hold the poster up that we have there? And Ms. Keogh, according to this December 2015 timeline by the Association of Air Pollution Control Agencies, there are 9 Clean Air Act deadlines for states this year alone. Your testimony describes a number of these EPA actions as, and I'm quoting now from your statement, quote, "We have at best overlapping and at worst conflicting directives." Can you explain how competing deadlines impact your department?
Thank you, Chairman. It is a bit frustrating as we seek implementation of these number of regulations in a very short time frame. What we see as our program staff evaluate these rules and seek implementation, we're modeling different and often conflicting results for this exact same source or the facility. And it often ignores the progress that the states are already making or continuing to make on different timeframes.
All right, thank you very much. And Mr. Huffman, on February the 23rd of 2016, I led some 200 House and Senate members, 34 of those were Senate members, in filing an amicus brief with the D.C. Circuit in opposition to EPA's Clean Power Plan. I did observe, Ms. Markowitz, you were the only one talking favorably about the power plan, but I have to point out that's because you're one of 4 states that's exempt from it. So I think the others would probably agree with you if that were the case. Anyway, the brief argues, among other things, that the Clean Power Plan violates the Clean Air Act's principle of cooperative federalism, explaining, and I'm quoting now from the brief, EPA takes a coercive approach that commandeers the states to implement and enforce the agency's power choices. So I'd ask Mr. Huffman, do you agree that the Clean Power Plan coerces states to implement EPA's policies choices, not the choices of states?
Yes, Senator, I think that EPA. I'm sorry. Thank you, Senator. Yes, I believe EPA's biggest challenge in implementing the Clean Power Plan is it had to go about it in a way that is unconventional. Typically, EPA will regulate pollutants at the end of the stack, if you will, or the end of the pipe. And with regard to the Clean Power Plan, the only way to do that would be to put a regulatory number, a limit on carbon dioxide, and the only way to do that in a way that gave the effect that they would want would essentially shut down all fossil fuel production in this country. So the way they went about managing every minute detail of how this Clean Power Plan should be implemented, we think ran in conflict with Section 111D of the Clean Air Act, which gives the states the authority to establish those performance standards. And EPA has done that instead of setting the threshold and allowing the states to figure out how to do it.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, thank you. And Mr. Perner, there's a little bit of confusion, lack of clarity following the Supreme Court stay of the Clean Power Plan. Has your state continued to work on the rule, and if the stay is ultimately lifted, do you expect compliance deadlines to be extended? In other words, are you continuing to work as if the stay were not reality? How are you preparing for it? I might ask the others the same thing. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, our plan before the stay was issued was to proceed along a path such that we could do enough to get the 2-year extension. EPA had said that was not going to be a high bar to reach, and so we read through what they were going to require, and we had started to work on those items. One of those items was a public participation process. In response to that, we had established a website where people could view some information and give us comments. We had also scheduled some public input meetings. The day after the stay was issued, we canceled those public meetings. The word that we're getting back from the legal team that's leading those that lawsuit is that they expect those deadlines will be adjusted by the courts once the decision is made
But
through the
be
court system.
expecting that and knowing that are two different things.
Yes, sir.
And trying to prepare. Anyone else want to comment on that? All right. Senator